Most people already know that Elon Musk threw up a full-blown Nazi salute. Here's a video of him throwing up the Nazi salute, juxtaposed with him saying his heart goes out to the crowd. This is what happened. Nazi salute, heart goes out. Anyway, Ben Shapiro reacted to it. I want to listen to his take on it, because he kind of considers himself the arbiter of what is anti-Semitic.
I gotta say, I have a pretty high radar for Nazism. I like a bit of a stake in this particular game. Like I feel like I can spot some Nazis when I see them. My Nazi radar does not go off around Elon Musk. You know why my Nazi radar doesn't go off around Elon Musk? Because he's not a Nazi.
He is. He is. If you're curious about why I say that, look at the video that released previously on this channel. I'm not sure what it'll be titled, but I go through the entire breakdown of what Zionism is and how we know that Elon Musk is, in fact, a Nazi. He supports the new Nazi party. Let's just leave the salute out of it. He supports the new Nazi party in Germany, the AfD. He retweets and talks about a Nazi conspiracy theory, Aryan genocide or white genocide. He is a Nazi. I don't understand how people can avoid this conclusion. But the ADL of all people came out and said it wasn't a Nazi salute, and Benjamin Netanyahu said the same thing.
In fact, Elon and I, 1 year ago, this week, were in Auschwitz together.
Yeah, you know why he went to Auschwitz with him? Because Elon was trying to rehabilitate his image after allowing Nazis back onto the platform, X or Twitter or whatever, after unbanning their accounts, the accounts of full-blown, self-avowed, Hitler-loving Nazis. People were horrified by that. Big advertiser boycott. They called it cancel culture. And then Elon tries to rehabilitate his image by going to Auschwitz with Ben Shapiro, of all people. Elon Musk wanted to stand next to his token that he wanted to carry around with him.
Visiting Auschwitz together, we did an event where he spoke about anti-Semitism and how evil it is and the evils of Hitlerianism. What is wrong with you people? And the answer, of course, is they know better. Of course they know better. Of course they know better.
Look, if you're walking into this as the very first video you've ever seen of mine, which is statistically pretty likely, probably. Let me just go one more time. Just going to take a look at a couple of things here. First and foremost, Elon Musk has been endorsing the new Nazi party, the AfD, in Germany. It's illegal to be a Nazi in Germany, but they go right up to the line. And in fact, some of them cross the line and are now under investigation by the German government for it. Musk was on a Twitter Spaces thing, I think, with the AfD leadership, and Elon Musk emphasized the importance of preserving German culture and values. This is an article on it. It's good to be proud of German culture, German values, and not to lose that in some sort of multiculturalism that dilutes everything. Literally what Hitler said. Make Germany great again, quote unquote. That is what Hitler said. Not to mention the Nazi salute, which is the subject of Ben Shapiro's video in the first place. Yeah, here's another example of him being a Nazi. This is on CBS News. Elon Musk, the world's richest person and owner of X, the social media network formerly known as Twitter, called an anti-Semitic post on the platform the actual truth. This was released November 16th, 2023. The comment stemmed from an X user's post that claimed Jews have been pushing the exact kind of dialectical hatred against whites that they claim to want people to stop using against them, quote unquote. Musk responded, "You have said the actual truth," while also criticizing the Anti-Defamation League, an advocacy group that works to combat hate against Jewish people. God, this is one of the wildest things, because when this advertiser boycott took place on Twitter because of what Elon Musk was doing, he tried to sue the ADL. Do you remember that? He tried to sue them for loss of revenue or something because they organized a boycott against X because of all the Nazi stuff on there. And now they're actually defending Elon Musk. They said it totally wasn't a Nazi salute. Are you kidding me? Anyway, it says the ADL unjustly attacks majority of the West, despite the majority of the West supporting the Jewish people in Israel. This is because they cannot, by their own tenets, criticize the minority groups who are their primary threat, Musk tweeted. Here you go. Jewish communities have been pushing the exact kind of dialectical hatred against whites they claim to want people to stop using against them. That's the tweet. Musk has targeted the ADL previously, threatening in September to sue the group for purportedly accusing both him and acts of anti-Semitism, claiming that the ADL's actions had led advertisers to abandon the social network. Anyway, I've just given you two examples, two super basic ones. Let me see. I think I have more. White House criticizes Elon Musk over hideous anti-Semitic lie, November 17th, 2023. That was the actual truth tweet again. That's what that was in reference to. Zionism, the belief that Jews should control territory in the Middle East and to name it Israel, that territory is Palestine. It was always Palestine. It's been Palestine for a long time. They started a war in the Middle East and created an ethno-state in the Middle East. I'm not in favor of ethno-states. Zionists are in favor of an ethno-state, an apartheid state. And even Albert Einstein knew that. He was a German Jewish guy, Einstein was. This is him commenting on Zionism. Here's the background on this letter from Einstein. Having appeared as a witness before the Anglo-American Committee of Inquiry, established in 1945 to consider the issue of Jewish immigration to Palestine, Einstein reviews and explains his testimony. He went solely to act in favor of our just cause, he says. He believes in Palestine as a Jewish homeland, but not as a separate state. He feels the Zionists, by asking for more, are taking an intransigent position which will only damage our cause, quote unquote. What he would like to see is a secured binational status in Palestine with free immigration, adding that it defies common sense to ask to be given the political rule over Palestine where 2/3 of the population are not Jewish. Here's the transcript from his letter. Dear Sir, I have served as a witness before the Anglo-American Inquiry Commission on Palestine for the sole purpose to act in favor of our just cause. But it is, of course, impossible to prevent distortion by the press. I am in favor of Palestine being developed as a Jewish homeland, but not as a separate state. It seems to me a matter for simple common sense that we cannot ask to be given the political rule over Palestine where 2/3 of the population are not Jewish. What we can and should ask is a secured binational status in Palestine with free immigration. If we ask more, we are damaging our own cause, and it's difficult for me to grasp that our Zionists are taking such an intransigent position which can only impair our cause. They're extremists. That's what Einstein was saying. Zionists were extremists in 1945 when this was written, I believe. Yeah, 1946. I don't know how it gets any clearer than that. Okay, so let's continue listening to Ben Shapiro make excuses for a literal Nazi. He is an actual Nazi, not a pretend Nazi, not like I don't like his political views and I think he supports systemic racism. He's a Nazi, Hitler-loving, Sieg-heiling Nazi. Like right here. Doesn't get clearer. Let's listen to him defend this Nazi.
And the answer, of course, is they know better. Of course they know better. Of course they know better. No one honestly believes that Elon Musk was giving a Nazi salute, but they have to characterize their opponents as Nazis. It's the only way. It's the only way.
I don't characterize anybody as a Nazi unless they're actually a Nazi. He is actually a Nazi. White nationalism and Nazism are the same, basically. In the 30s, the Nazi ideology revolved around this belief that Aryans, quote unquote, were supermen, Ubermensch. They were smarter and faster and stronger and everything than everybody else. IQs of 200, bench press 1,000 pounds, that kind of deal. But their blood was diluted by Jews, and that's why they're just, normal, as strong as everyone else. That was the belief system. White nationalism is the same. White nationalism in America. So, take the KKK, for example. Hitler used America's race laws as a model for the Nuremberg laws and stuff, generally, for the things that he was doing in Germany. Hitler liked the American model. In fact, there's a book about it, The American Model. It's not a biased book. It's an academic book. There's no bias to be found in it anywhere. Anyway, white nationalists are Nazis, particularly today. That's absolutely true today. They're the same. In South Africa, It was controlled by white nationalists up until I think 1991 or 93. I don't remember. It was an apartheid state. It was separated into white only and black only. They weren't allowed to get married. They weren't allowed to drink from the same water fountains or anything. It was like America was not even that long ago. Elon Musk grew up in that. He grew up in this apartheid environment where black people were genetically inferior to white people in their heads, and where there was a white genocide. They're trying to take out the white people delusionally. Is it really surprising to anybody that he came here and grew up and still believed this stuff? Is this a surprise, really? Of course he's a Nazi.
This, by the way, has been the tactic of the entire post-World War II left. Anybody who is not a communist is a Nazi. That is the way this entire political game is run. Here is John Stewart.
I'm neither a Nazi nor a communist, so no, that's just not true.
John Stewart doing this routine.
John Stewart, by the way, is Jewish.
What's amazing is hearing people like John Stewart supposedly speaking truth to power, by which we mean just parroting whatever the left-wing talking point of the day is.
Okay. Charitably, I'm going to say that was just an awkward, my heart goes out to you gesture.
Except for, I'm sorry, I can't let that stand. We have a video of Elon doing the my heart goes out to you gesture. That exists. We know what that looks like, and that's not it.
Any of you might have done it like this. Even Taylor Swift has done that, my heart, but she almost never does the goes out to you. Like,
I appreciate that I'm watching somebody watch somebody talking about something.
Just always stays with, but listen, it's nerve-wracking day. You're not normally a public speaker. It's a one-off gesture. Please try not to use it again.
And we did it a second time.
You really want to make sure the people in the back see it, I guess. I'm just going to be generous and say maybe that was Elon's attempt at dabbing on the haters.
It was very clearly a Hitler salute. It does not get any clearer than that, honestly. And the fact that we're watching people try to justify it tells me that this is like a fire hose of falsehoods propaganda campaign. It's not. It can't be clearer, honestly.
Just absolutely ridiculous. These people are absolutely ridiculous. Representative Robert Garcia did the same thing. This became the talking point of the day on the left. This is what you're relegated to. You lost an election. You can't separate off from your own terrible radical ideas. And so you're relegated to calling Elon Musk, one of the most philo-Semitic people on earth, a Nazi. Here is Representative Robert Garcia doing this insane routine.
That was a Nazi salute, and he didn't just do it one time. He did it twice for emphasis. And if you talk to anyone, that's historians, folks that actually study the Nazis and study this actual kind of disgusting display, have been very clear that what that was. And he should not just apologize, he should be condemned for those kinds of actions. So gross, disgusting, but more of what we can expect, I think, from Elon Musk and Donald Trump.
I don't even know what to say to these people. And it's senators, too. It's Senator Chris Murphy.
It's honestly disgusting to me that this guy would sell out everybody that suffered in the Holocaust. FYI, ex-Jehovah's Witness here, grew up hearing about Jehovah's Witnesses in the Holocaust and how they were treated. Wrote a whole book about this subject, including about Jehovah's Witnesses and how they were treated in the Holocaust, how they smuggled literature into and out of concentration camps, how they got templates for the literature brought in, and Bibles and matchbook-sized magazines smuggled into people's wooden leg, or like cakes. Like, I am very deeply invested in this subject because the people that I knew growing up in this were victims of this whole thing. So Ben Shapiro is not the only one with like an emotional tie to this subject. And it's disgusting to me that he is selling them out. The people that suffered, the people that died, were murdered. The people who were forced to work as slave labor. He's selling them out by defending an actual, real, literal Nazi, somebody that believes in the ideals that Hitler espoused. Defending this person. How do you live with yourself? How do you sleep at night? Is this like, am I the only one disturbed by this? This is Zionism, which is just as extreme as Nazism. We are looking at two sides of the same coin. Zionists defending Nazis for their own personal interests. That is fucking disgusting right there.
Senator Chris Murphy brought this up in a hearing with Elise Stefanik, who is going to be the UN ambassador for the United States. Elise Stefanik has been one of the loudest and most vocal opponents of anti-Semitism in the United States Congress. She made a lot of headlines last year when she went after various woke Ivy League deans who are defending anti-Semitism on their campuses. So Chris Murphy decides, in all of his idiotic glory, to ask her about Elon Musk and his Nazi salute.
Okay, now, before going any further, I talked about this in my previous video. I do want to touch on it again just for a second. There's a guy named Victor Klemperer. He was what one might call a privileged Jewish person in Germany. He fought in World War I. He's married to an Aryan woman. Aryan, quote unquote. A fake designation, of course. So he stayed in Germany through all of it, and he wrote a diary. And his diary accounts are some of the most valuable accounts that we have, the most valuable writings that we have from the time period to give us a glimpse into what life was like at the time and in the region. At the time, Zionists, which is to say people who believe that Jews should control the Middle East and it should be under a state named Israel, Zionists were trying to push Jews to return to like the Palestine area. By 1947, 1948, they would start a war called the Nakba, funded surreptitiously by some governments and more openly by others. Czechoslovakia was supplying guns to Israel, for example. They rose up and took a portion of Palestine in the name of Zionism. Now, Victor Klemperer commented on what Zionists were like, who they were, and their thoughts. Let me just read like this one excerpt. And I'll put a little thing at the bottom telling you where to jump forward if you've already heard the excerpt. This is from The Third Reich in Power by Richard J. Evans. One such woman was Ava, wife of Victor Klemperer, who stood by him through all the fastidiousness of the 1930s. As a war veteran and the husband of an Aryan, he was still entitled to keep his job as a professor of French literature at Dresden's Technical University, but he's removed from examining. He was unable to find a publisher for his latest book, and his teaching was so severely restricted that attendance at his lectures fell to single figures, and he felt in danger of being made redundant. He was dismayed still further by some of his Jewish friends' continuing illusions about the regime. All around him, Jewish colleagues were being dismissed, and young Jewish families he knew were emigrating to Palestine. As a German nationalist, he was shocked by the extent to which other Jewish friends were taking on a more Jewish identity and losing their Germanness. He considered Zionism little better than Nazism. He saw his Jewish friends emigrating to Palestine, but had no thought of going there himself. Quote, anyone who goes there is exchanging nationalism and narrowness for nationalism and narrowness. End quote. That is what Victor Klemperer said about Zionists. That they are effectively Nazis. Nazis were obsessed with an Aryan race, building it up and making it a pure bloodline, and controlling an entire region in the name of Aryanism, which again, fake designation, but whatever. Zionists are obsessed with the exact same stuff, except instead of Aryans, it's the Jewish race, quote unquote. Two heads of the same coin. Zionists are the same as Nazis in their ideological extremism, ideological leanings, narrow-minded nationalism. And that is why Hitler was so willing to make a deal with Zionists in 1933, August 1933. Again, I talk about it at length. If you want to hear more about it, it's in the video that released just before this one. The point is that Ben Shapiro is a Zionist. He's one of those people to whom Victor Klemperer was referring when he said basically it's two sides of the same coin, that they are both narrow-minded nationalists, that they're both damaging, destructive to society, to everything around them. He is a shame to the victims of this whole thing. Ben Shapiro is. The ADL is, who also defended Elon Musk. Netanyahu is, who defended him also. They are a shame to the people that suffered and died.
What do you think of Elon Musk, perhaps the president's most visible advisor, doing 2 Heil Hitler salutes last night at the president's televised rally?
No, Elon Musk did not do those salutes. I was not at the rally, but I can tell you I've been at many rallies with Elon Musk, who loves to cheer when President Trump says we need to send, our U.S. space program to Mars. Elon Musk is.
What does that have to do with anything? I don't give a shit what he's talking about with Mars or whatever. He's trying to fit this in here to try to make people remember that, oh yeah, Elon Musk is doing good things, bringing us to Mars. Well, not for nothing, but didn't he say like 10, 15 years ago that we'd be on Mars in 10 years? And where are we with that? He's not doing those great things. It was all bluff. It was all nonsense. It's irrelevant what he's trying to do. He gave a Nazi salute, bottom line. And you know what? Even if he didn't give a Nazi salute, he believes in Nazi ideology. That's why it's so believable that it's a Nazi salute in the first place.
Is a visionary. I'm looking forward to his work in DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency.
Again, so what? What are you talking about? I don't care about any of that. Are you going to talk about the fact that he gave a Sieg Heil twice?
And look forward to looking how we can be more efficient and effective, but that is simply not the case. And to say so is the American people are smart. They see through it. They support Elon Musk. We are proud to be the country of such successful entrepreneurs. That is one of our greatest strengths as Americans.
Just horrific, disgusting apologetics for a literal Nazi.
I mean, obviously, all of this is true.
No, it's not, but whatever, fine.
This became so ridiculous that even the ADL, who got this stuff wrong routinely, even the ADL was like, no, I'm sorry, no. Quote, it seems that Elon Musk made an awkward gesture in a moment of enthusiasm, not a Nazi salute. But again, we appreciate that people are on edge. Because
yeah, this is what the ADL said. They defended Elon Musk, as I said, and so did Benjamin Netanyahu. Zionism is two sides of the same coin. It is Nazism in a cloak.
The ADL is always trying to have the baby. But come on, guys, come on.
With the New York starting, I need to make sure I'm maintaining my health, hitting the gym, spending time with my family.
Okay, I know he's advertising. Let's just see what stupid ad he's got going on.
Even with my busy work schedule. When I was younger, I used to think I could just power through on pure conservative willpower and caffeine. I learned pretty quickly peak performance requires peak nutrition, and that means eating veggies. Well, I don't like...
Is it just me? What is up with his hair? Why does his hair always look like it's like he just stepped out of a shower or something? Does he put hair gel in that? Is that what it is?
I don't like vegetables, so I'm very thankful to have Balance of Nature, which fits right into...
Balance of Nature. Now we know who not to support in the future.
Even the busiest of days. Imagine trying to eat 31 different fruits and veggies every day. That sounds pretty miserable and time-consuming. With Balance of Nature fruits and veggies, there's never been a more convenient dietary supplement to ensure...
Okay, I'm done with this stupid nonsense. Jump forward past the ads here. By the way, in case anybody was unfamiliar, Sieg Heil means hail victory. Heil is hail, and Sieg is victory. Just verify that. Yeah, Sieg is victory. So you could say Sieg Heil if you want, but you're mixing a German word with an English word. So anyway, that's what it means. And the Sieg Heil, the Hail Victory salute, is the German Nazi salute.
First order as a preferred customer and get that free bottle of fiber and spice for my friends at Balance of Nature.
Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, who is just deeply dishonest. You know, I'm moving away, as y'all know from listening to the show. I tend to attribute most things to stupidity rather than malice. AOC, I'm not sure that it's possible for a person to be this stupid.
Ben Shapiro is outright malicious with this. He is a Zionist that is knowingly, intentionally slandering, lying, and twisting things around to protect a literal Nazi who can further this Zionist's goals, thus in the process betraying everything that he garnered support for. You know, people support what he says about, the Holocaust and protecting Jews and everything else, because they think that that's what he's doing. He's not doing that. He doesn't seem to really care about that. What he cares about more than anything else, obviously, is furthering the Zionist goals, just like it was in the 1930s. And if that means defending a literal Nazi, then that's where we are.
And still function in society. So I think it's malice. Here's what she said, quote, just to be clear, you are defending a Heil Hitler salute that was performed and repeated for emphasis and clarity. People can officially stop listening to you as any sort of reputable source of information. You work for them. Thank you for making that crystal clear to all.
Yeah, absolutely disgusting. I can't believe this of the ADL. It's just, it's mind-blowing to me. And Netanyahu and Ben Shapiro and everybody so willing to throw all of the victims under the bus like that.
So AOC is now accusing the ADL of working for Elon Musk. The ADL and Elon Musk have been at odds.
The ADL, you hearing him? He's like he's a little girl or something, like getting all excited about this.
Now accusing the ADL of working for Elon Musk. The ADL and Elon Musk have been at odds for literally years. And if we're talking about people who are quite tolerant of the actual Nazism that exists on planet Earth today, AOC is real high on the list. She is perfectly fine with Hamas ruling the Gaza Strip while denying Israel Iron Dome funding.
No, nobody wants Hamas ruling anything. Hamas bad. We'll go there, okay? Yes, Hamas bad. Nobody likes that. Nobody wants that. And you know what? I was horrified and disturbed and heartbroken, and still am, about October 7th, about what happened in Israel. I don't want anybody hurt. I don't want anybody to die. Nobody. But that is not an excuse for wantonly killing men, women, and children, civilians in Gaza, ethnically cleansing the area and maintaining an ethno-state. It is unacceptable. There is no excuse for doing that. None.
Perfectly fine with Hamas ruling the Gaza Strip while denying
No one is fine with that.
Israel Iron Dome funding to prevent missiles from falling into state roads. I noticed that many of the people who are most upset about Elon's supposed neo-Nazi salute had not a word to say when Jews were being massacred on October 7th.
Of course they did. I talked about this. I did a whole big, long 45-minute video, a historical breakdown of the history of the region and why there were fights and everything. And I said at the time, I'm really devastated that this is happening to people at a music festival. Like, they didn't do to anybody. They didn't deserve this at all. And AOC said the same thing. Nobody wanted this. Nobody. Well, some people wanted it, I guess. I didn't want it. AOC did not want that to happen and stood behind the Jewish community 100% and still do stand behind them in defending themselves from being harmed by anybody for any reason, no matter what, ever. But we aren't in Jewish people are being harmed territory. We are now in an ethno-state speaking for the survivors of the Holocaust, or speaking for the victims of the Holocaust, are literally committing a genocide and ethnically cleansing a region.
Had not a word to say when Jews were being massacred on October 7th, and had many words to say about Israel's ability to defend itself. It seems the only type of Hitlerism that they can't identify is the actual Hitlerism that exists on planet Earth today, the genocidal attempt to destroy Jews in Israel and elsewhere. Unbelievable. But again,
Hamas has said, and Palestine, the West Bank and everything, they have said, if Israel agrees to return to the 1967 borders, which is the borders recognized by international law today, then all of it would stop. And if it didn't stop, I'd stand behind Israel 100%. If they return to the 1967 borders and this stuff continues, they have the moral high ground. Until then, they don't. They are murdering innocent people and stealing land. People literally in the West Bank walking into the people's houses, Palestinians' houses, walking into the houses, laying down in the bed and going to sleep, claiming the house is their own. Soldiers following behind them from the IDF, is that what it's called? The Israeli Defense Force, I think. Following behind them to make sure, with weapons, that the Palestinians don't do something to, get them out of their house. That's what's happening right now today. A journalist went to a West Bank settlement where this happened, and it was some dude from New York City went over there and laid down in some couple's bed, claimed it as his own. Reporter walks up to him and says, "What are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? You're from New York City. This is someone else's house." And he said, "Well, if it's not me taking this house, somebody else is going to take the house. So I figure, why not? I might as well." What is wrong with you, Ben Shapiro, that you would justify things like this? What broke in there that this is okay to you? What broke inside that made you think that it's okay to use the murder of millions as a justification for atrocities? What broke?
Attempt to destroy Jews in Israel and elsewhere. Unbelievable. But again, this all ties into a broader narrative for the left. And that broader narrative is not just, of course, that Elon is a Nazi, but that the entire right is filled with fascists.
Oh, it absolutely is, yes. And not everybody on the right is fascist. Let me put it this way. Not all Trump supporters are Nazis, but all Nazis are Trump supporters.
Because if you can't convince people that your economically Marxist program is a good idea, because it isn't. And if
there is no economically Marxist program. I can't let this slide. I'm sorry, man. Democrats have the mildest economic policy compared to anything. It's barely moving the needle at all. I think at best right now, Democratic economic policy is to bring manufacturing jobs back to the U.S., and that's about the extent of it. I don't remember hearing anything about anybody raising taxes on the rich. I mean, I guess they talk about it with kind of virtue signal, but they've had plenty of chances. You know, Biden was in power for like 4 years, and they didn't, or not very much at the very least. That's not even the Overton window. So the thing they're really focused on the left is bringing jobs back to the U.S. Is that economically Marxist? Like the CHIPS Act, for example. Again, it's, in Ben Shapiro's case, it's malice. It's malice. Dude is a Harvard graduate. He knows better than this. You can't convince me otherwise.
That Elon is a Nazi, but that the entire right is filled with fascists. Because if you can't convince people that your economically Marxist program is a good idea, because it isn't, and if wokeness isn't selling, you are now left with the final argument. And it's the argument they keep going back to. They're going to keep going back to this well, even though that well is absolutely bone dry.
Okay, like, I can't let this one slide either. Wokeism is fictitious. Okay, nobody is quote unquote woke. It's a word that was maybe not made up by the right, but it's certainly blown completely out of proportion and twisted around by the right. There is no wokeism or whatever taking over schools. This is like CRT. There's no CRT in elementary schools. There's no like DEI in elementary schools. Get a grip on reality, please. I am begging you.
That well is, they're fascists. Now, remember, Joe Biden ran his entire campaign until he died on stage on this issue and lost. And then Kamala Harris tried it and lost. But they ain't got nothing else there. That's all they got.
It's not a political move. Elon Musk gave a Nazi salute. How can this be any clearer? I'm not criticizing him to win an election, okay? He saluted a crowd with a Sieg Heil.
The playbook. So here, for example, was Jimmy Kimmel suggesting you might go to jail for clapping too loud in Donald Trump's America if you clap at Jimmy Kimmel's jokes. Are you kidding? Donald Trump doesn't. First of all of Jimmy Kimmel's viewers are either on my show when I play a clip or in his actual live studio audience. There are no other Jimmy Kimmel viewers.
Well, then why is he bothering to cover him if that's the case?
Yeah, no, you clap too loud, you're all going to prison too.
You know why Ben Shapiro didn't like this? This is very clearly a joke. The guy was joking, all right? And it was, not very funny, but okay, whatever. I'll take it, I suppose. The thing is, it's very clearly a hyperbolic statement that is unrealistic, not going to happen. But when this type of statement is made on the far right, like in Ben Shapiro's spheres, they believe it. It isn't hyperbole. They believe it. They're eating babies. They're using, baby blood to live forever. They're whatever other stupid that these people spread. They believe this stuff. It wouldn't be a hyperbolic, ridiculous joke if it was said by the right. And, you know, again, Ben Shapiro is, in my opinion, malicious. He can't possibly not know that this is nonsense, but trying to interpret this in the most charitable way, which is to say, to interpret it in such a way that Ben Shapiro is dumb as dog. The best I've got is he's interpreting this joke as a serious statement because these type of hyperbolic statements on the right are real. They really are believed.
The press secretary for Bernie Sanders' campaign and then for Kamala Harris in short-lived fashion. She suggests that the reason that Donald Trump signed the pardons for the January 6th rioters and trespassers and protesters was because he's constructing a private army.
That's absolutely true. Yes, 100%. Now, I don't know if anybody implied that or whatever. The private army already exists. Hitler had a private army. It was made up of people that were just really big fans of his and kind of formed a little group where they trained and, you know, fought each other and bought gear and stuff like that. Went to the shooting range, became his bodyguards eventually, I believe. And then they started doing things for Hitler, like going around intimidating political opponents, storming union halls and roughing people up, finding them in an alley at night and beating the shit out of them and stuff. Hitler didn't have to tell them to do any of that. They just did it. And it's not an army exactly with the brown shirts, not at first at least, and with the Proud Boys, which are one-to-one analogous. They're exactly the same, the Proud Boys and the brown shirts. It's not exactly an army. It's just like a militant group. But the brown shirts eventually did turn into basically the army. The Wehrmacht, they kind of joined together. It was a complicated mess because Hitler's trying to evade rules in the Treaty of Versailles that dictated that that Germany could only have 100,000 troops at any one time. And that's why he kind of built the brown shirts into what they were. But anyway, brown shirts and Proud Boys are identical to each other. Identical. So that is, in fact, what Trump is doing, yes.
And protesters was because he's constructing a private army.
Now, those people that were pardoned, they're not, you know, he doesn't need to pardon them to be in his private army, but he's signaling, I will protect you legally. I will pardon you for anything you do, up to and including roughing up political opponents, storming union halls, whatever.
Yes, nailed this. They're going to be his private army. One of the things that the left finds the hardest to grasp about January 6th is that despite all attempts, no evidence was ever uncovered suggesting that Donald Trump directed all of the people involved in January 6th to violently overthrow the United States government.
Bullshit. What are you talking about? Again, like, he didn't need to personally direct them strictly, like with a hierarchy or whatever. Like with the brown shirts, they knew what he wanted done. And he did actually direct people to do it. Anyway, this is just a lie through Roger Stone. Roger Stone worked with the Proud Boy leadership, I believe Enrique Tarrio and a couple of others, effectively generals, worked with them to bury guns in caches outside the city so that they could retrieve them and start the war if need be. Trump absolutely did direct them. Ben Shapiro cannot possibly not know this. This is just a lie.
Zero evidence was adduced to that effect.
It's just a lie.
But they're just going to go with it, man. Here's Simone Sanders going for it.
And one senior Dem state legislator from out west texted me and said, you know, he literally just let his private militia out of jail. He said he's instilled a sense of loyalty. These people feel loyal to him.
Sure
and they feel protected over anything else. They feel like they're protected from absolutely anything that they do. They have a get out of jail free pass in perpetuity, or at least for the next 4 years. You know the QAnon shaman? You remember that dude? Big horns and all that junk. Jacob Chansley was his name. When he got his pardon, he tweeted, "Woo, now I'm gonna go buy some guns." He wasn't in jail anymore. He served his time. I think it was like 3 years or something. I don't know. But he was registered as a felon, I believe, and wasn't allowed to get guns. Well, guess who can get guns now?
That he's instilled a sense of loyalty. These people feel loyal to him, and their lawlessness is now going to go unchecked, and he can now call on them again to do what they would like.
Call on them again. Ridiculous. He's the
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
president of the United States. It turns out he's the commander in chief. So yeah, I'm pretty sure he doesn't need the guy in the buffalo horns.
Well, he can't get the U.S. military to wander around and storm unions and rough people up and break up strikes on the street, start riots and burn down buildings like the Boogaloo Boys, another kind of, brown shirt group for Donald Trump, did in the George Floyd protests. You remember that police precinct that burned down? Kind of sparked this big thing. I believe it was in Minneapolis. That was a Trump supporter that lit that fire. It was one of his private army members that did that. He didn't have to direct that person to do it. They did it, just like the brown shirts. The U.S. military is not going to wander around doing that.
Turns out he's the commander in chief. So yeah, I'm pretty sure he doesn't need the guy in the buffalo horns. I'm pretty sure.
Are you tired of the lies and the twist of the mainstream media talking?
My God, dude. Anyway, that's Ben Shapiro. And look in the bottom left, facts. Literally the exact opposite of facts. Absolutely insane. Tell me what you think in the comments.